WWDC 2025 is happening next week, so let's talk about some last-minute leaks. Also, this video is sponsored by Ugreen. First off, just to set expectations, it's no surprise that this year's WWDC is shaping up to be a bit, maybe a bit underwhelming. Like, I'm not saying that there's not going to be anything to get excited for, but this year there will be no major announcements like the 2024 Apple Intelligence Unveil or the 2023 Apple hardware announcements like the Vision Pro and the 15-inch MacBook Air. And yes, I will be talking about the Apple Intelligence fallout as it does come into play this year, but I will get back into that later. So this WWDC, the biggest and probably the most unexpected last-minute leak is when it comes to the renaming. I'm sure some of you may have seen iOS 26 floating around. And yes, this is not a joke. We will also be getting iPadOS 26, macOS 26, tvOS 26, watchOS 26, and yes, visionOS 26. But why is that? Well, this is a much welcomed change as it simplifies the naming. It makes it incredibly easy to remember the release version as it will now be linked to the year. Like literally last week before this leak surfaced, me and my team, we were having our weekly team meeting and planning this video. And I was trying to remember all the OS versions that were going to get updated at WWDC, like tvOS 13, macOS 15, visionOS 3, but then there's, iOS 19 and watchOS 12, all different numbers. It's so confusing. So yeah, I'm really happy with this change. Are you also happy with this change? Now let me know by hitting the like button down below. So what about macOS 26? Are we still getting the location names? Well, I had the same question, and luckily it turns out that the location name has actually been leaked. And it's once again going to be a beautiful location, with this year having one of the most stunning macOS wallpapers yet. More stunning macOS wallpapers in our app wallpapers. Now, the name of macOS 26 is said to be Tahoe, more commonly known as Lake Tahoe, an incredibly picturesque freshwater lake in Sierra Nevada mountains, which is on the California-Nevada border. It's a beautiful location that Craig would probably describe as clean, iconic, and quietly peaceful. Perfect for a macOS release. Now, 4 years ago, in the run-up to WWDC 2021, a fellow YouTuber, Andrew Levitt, set out to actually try and predict the upcoming macOS release, landing on the name of macOS Tahoe, and even going out to try and recreate the wallpaper on site. It's such a great watch, and I highly recommend you guys watch it, as it's so well put together. Not even to mention that it's pretty insane that the name and the wallpaper may both become a reality 4 years later. Speaking of macOS 26, this release is rumored to drop support for a number of Macs, such as the 2017 iMac Pro, 2018 MacBook Pro, the 2018 Mac Mini, 2019 iMac, and also the 2020 MacBook Air. By next WWDC, I would expect Apple to drop Intel Macs entirely, which does make me wonder when support for the M1 Macs will get dropped, as those were released back in 2020. If Apple starts phasing out the M1, it will likely be a strategic move rather than a performance-based one, as the chip is still very capable. Although, that being said, 8GB of RAM M1 Max could become a bottleneck in the near future, as AI, which is becoming more and more popular, does need a lot of RAM. Now, macOS Tahoe is part of Solarium, Apple's internal codename for their major cross-platform UI redesign. Therefore, Project Solarium is intended to unify the look across macOS, tvOS, iOS, watchOS, and iPadOS. All of this gives me the impression that Apple is focusing on simplification and tidying things up this year, especially when we consider the unification of their naming schemes. And I do hope that this signals a shift in their approach to software, focusing on stability and just fewer bugs, similar to the previous Snow Leopard era, a period when Apple just focused on fixing all of their bugs and the actual experience rather than introducing new features, which, especially on iOS, I do feel like Apple desperately needs with all the bugs that everyone's been encountering lately. Now, the concern is, of course, how much work the redesign may affect the experience, as technically this is a big overhaul, and bug fixes could have just taken a seat back in favor for this fresh coat of paint. Now, speaking of the redesign, the word Solarium does mean an all-glass room that's designed to let in a lot of light. What does that sound like? visionOS. Now, this isn't new at all. We've known for a while that we're getting a visionOS style redesign in iOS and that this redesign will also be coming to every other platform. It's even been hinted at in the WWDC invite with its glassy rainbow, glassy Apple Park, elements, and text. As a quick visual recap, here's our very own iOS 19 concept. We have iMessage with this visionOS style keyboard and the home screen with a glassy focus. Jon Prosser leaked some actual designs from the camera app to the music app earlier. iPadOS will of course follow the same design idea, and in terms of the macOS look, not much has been shown, but Mark Gurman does seem to expect a lot of similarities, but then also a lot of differences. Differences like hamburger menus and menu buttons, and a menu bar, and buttons for closing applications, and the way the dock looks and acts. Okay, now earlier I mentioned this being a bit of an underwhelming WWDC because this is literally the extent of the big announcements. 1, a visual redesign, and 2, a new name. However, we do have some smaller features that are also coming that have been leaked. But before that, let me show you 2 insanely useful docks for your Mac, sent over by our sponsor, Ugreen, both of which have truly changed my workflow. First up, the Ugreen Mac Mini M4 dock, a total game changer for your Mac Mini. It adds 10 extra ports, both USB-A's and USB-C's, 5 of them at 10 gigabits per second, plus fast SD and microSD card slots on the front, finally fixing my biggest gripe with a Mac Mini. There's also a 10 gigabit per second NVMe enclosure inside, where I've added a 4 terabyte M.2 drive, perfect for Time Machine backups. And it looks amazing, seamlessly blending with the Mac Mini's design, maintaining airflow and also full access to the power button. But if you want even more, check out the Ugreen Revodok Max docking station. This beast gives you 12 extra ports, including 3 Thunderbolt 5 ports with up to 120 gigabit per second speeds. It supports an 8K monitor at 60 Hz or 2 6K monitors, and can also charge your MacBook at 140 watts. We use it at our main editing desk, running 2 4K monitors, fast charging, access to our 80 terabyte NAS, and also with plenty of ports to spare. All of this, by the way, is through a single cable. So if you're building a pro-level Mac workflow, then these docks are an excellent investment. You can check them out by using the Amazon links below, as both are on sale now. Okay, now back to some of these OS feature leaks. One of them is an AI battery power management mode, which I'm really looking forward to, as the current battery management, at least on the Mac, cannot even keep your Mac at 80% charge when plugged in like it's supposed to. Then there's a new Translate app with AirPods and Siri functionality, and also some leaked marketing materials with certain apps being labeled as AI powered. There's also a couple of smaller new app updates, like a redesigned health app, and also whispers of a gaming app that would let you launch games, earn achievements, and kinda act like Steam, which I do think is a great idea, especially with Apple trying to appeal to more developers and gamers alike. As for specific Apple Intelligence updates, we all know that since the last WWDC, the rollout has been really poor, with half the features being pushed or even removed from marketing materials, and Siri 2.0, the big update, well, it didn't even exist in the first place. I do highly recommend watching Snazzy Lab's video for a deep dive into the behinds of Siri. Like, it's just insane what's been happening behind the scenes with all of the delays. Reason why this year it feels like Apple will be holding back when it comes to AI, as that would be next year's WWDC event. At least according to all the leaks that we've seen so far. Yes, all the main AI features have been pushed to 2026 or 2027. What's also interesting is that for the first time in a decade, Apple executives have declined to appear on the Talk Show Live, an interview-style show where they are typically asked live questions about the latest announcements. This absence suggests that the controversy surrounding Apple Intelligence may be just way too significant, and given the relatively few feature announcements at this year's WWDC, it just means that engaging in that Apple Intelligence conversation could only intensify speculation, something that Apple and their shareholders, they likely prefer to avoid, at least for now. Plus, when it comes to AI features, the industry is evolving so fast that Apple seems unable to keep pace with its own tools, which could leave Apple in a position where it has to adopt models from competitors like we've seen with ChatGPT, and potentially even Google Gemini, especially now with Sundar Pichai even hinting at deep integration with Gemini coming in iOS 26, which means that we could potentially see Gemini having the ability to power Apple's system-wide writing tools, or allow users to generate text and images, both of which Gemini can do way better than Apple. It's going to be interesting to see if users would want to switch from ChatGPT and Gemini back to Siri even with its privacy-focused features, or if Siri would simply fall so far behind that Apple would simply permanently adopt Gemini or ChatGPT instead. As for Apple Intelligence this year, there is one thing that is coming, which is Apple opening its on-device LLM to developers via a new SDK. What this means is that Apple's on-device AI, powering features like offline summaries, text suggestions, and image playground, will soon be available for developers to use in their own apps, which could kick off a whole new wave of AI-powered apps on the App Store. Mark Gurman thinks that this might be a smart financial move by Apple, aimed at essentially sparking another App Store boom. Mark Gurman even said that if Apple makes it easy enough for developers to use its new capabilities, they can quickly amass a large base of innovative AI-powered experiences that are exclusive to its platforms. And I do agree. I think that this is actually a really smart move, and it's definitely something to look forward to as a user, as you never know what the developer community is going to come up with. Especially since Apple Intelligence, as opposed to ChatGPT, will likely be a free, on-device, and plug-and-play solution that they can integrate into their apps. Although, yes, it will still be very far behind when compared to ChatGPT and Gemini. So what do you guys think about Apple's handling of AI? And also, are you looking forward to this year's WWDC and all of their UI changes? Oh, and by the way, I'm going to be doing a live stream on the 9th when WWDC is happening. So if you want to join me and you want to, watch WWDC together and chat about all the announcements, then yeah, feel free to join. I'm Daniel, this has been ZONEofTECH, and I'll see you guys in the next one. ZONEofTECH, signing out. Cheers.